Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Elliot Rodger, his natal chart, part 2, which is really actually his solar chart because I couldn't get a time of birth for him, and it is based on Western astrology and the Placidus house system. Well, to continue what I was talking and dissertating about from part 1, he only had one planet in air, which could indicate some difficulty in articulating their ideas, their thoughts, and his thinking and learning process might be a little bit more methodical than the average person, and he may have found ways to communicate and convey his thoughts and ideas in other ways. Now, he also has the majority of his planets in the first quadrant, which is houses 1 through 3, and this would indicate an emphasis on own needs. May come across a little bit egocentric to some degree. This accentuates the outlook on life, the first house, the things of a monetary nature, which is the second house, and the desire to communicate, which would be the third house. However, he had no planets in the third house, so I think it's more the first and second is what's emphasized or accentuated in his case. Now, his chart technically didn't seem to have a planetary pattern to me. Some might look at it and say that it's a seesaw, but it only had like one opposition, and the groups of planets were not really that opposed to each other. So it looks like to me, if it was closest to anything, it would be a bowl. So I'm going to give you a description for it as if it were a bowl. But keep in mind, this would only be this would be could fit him, but a little bit less intense, as if it actually were a bowl. The reason it's not a bowl is because it didn't meet the certain criteria or parameters of whatever you have for the bowl, because even though most of his planets are grouped in a bowl-like, his planets are grouped in a bowl-like formation, they're almost all on the second, on houses 1st through 6 in his solar chart. Majority of them are. However, there was a separation between two planets in that formation that exceeded 60 degrees and was like 71.5, so therefore it technically wasn't. But I'm still going to read it to you like it as it was, because as if it were a bowl pattern, because that's the closest it was to it. But keep in mind, it was not technically a bowl pattern, but you can look at it like it's close, but it's not going to be as intense as if it were one. Now, this would be this pattern would be a formation in the chart where the 10 planets would occupy or reside in approximately half or 180 degrees of the chart. This pattern can make one to conceal, suppress thoughts and feelings, and can make one very self-reliant, independent, and self-contained. They may feel compelled to fulfill some great purpose in their life. The two planets on the edge of the pattern in his chart are on the edges, or I guess you could say the rims, are the Sun and Saturn, and they form an opposition. Now, this aspect may indicate self-confidence issues, and may think often about others that have more than they do in their life, and this could equate to animosity, maybe toward those people. So those are things which might have kind of stirred on this problem, that this anger that was unleashed on this day. And this could be something that had to do with him not really thinking he had a lot, at least comparatively, to other people, and this tension and exasperation caused by that opposition may have very well played a role in what happened. The thing about this mission, or whatever this purpose might have been, that purpose might have equated to that negative thing that happened on that day when he went on that killing rampage. Now, on his 6th house, the house of health, now he has Sagittarius on the 6th house cusp in his solar chart. Now this could, and sometimes a lot of people will look at this initially and say, well, this is providential and auspicious for health. But sometimes it could enlarge health issues, I believe, because Sagittarius and Jupiter generally don't do anything in moderation or in small, minuscule amounts. So the ruler of Jupiter had conjuncted Mercury, which may indicate if illnesses may have to do connection with his communication, maybe or what I guess what it could be is may indicate illness is maybe communicated often or talked about, and sure enough, that's what people have been trying to talk about and decipher in the media as far as any health issues he had. Now, he has the moon in Capricorn in the 6th, which could indicate a propensity for worry, and if really adversely placed or aspected or whatever, it could indicate possible emotional issues, since we talk about the moon is like the emotional part of the person, and the 6th house is the health sector of the chart. Now, he has, with the conjunction from the moon to Uranus in the 6th, unpredictable, sporadic, emotional behavior may have been connected with health issues. Now, he also has Neptune in the 6th, an accidental detriment, and this could indicate health dilemmas associated maybe with drugs and or alcohol. Now, I don't know if this was ever verified or confirmed. I don't know. This is speculation on my part. But when you have Neptune in the 6th, this could be something where the propensity for some health matter connected with drugs and or alcohol would obviously be greater than a lot of other aspects and positions in a horoscope. Now, the fact that all these, I guess we could say the planets in his solar chart are intercepted in that 6th house could indicate that health issues may have been something where may have been obscure somehow to people, or they weren't fully cognizant to others, and maybe they weren't fully understood by Elliot himself. Now, at the time that this rampage murdering spree took place, his progressed moon had made a conjunction to his natal Pluto in the sign of Scorpio. So at this time, perhaps emotions could have been very dark, deep, intense, and turbulent. And perhaps the thing about the retribution thing that he talked about was really in effect this day. That might have had something to do with it, and he wanted to, quote unquote, I'm saying in my own words, I guess, he wanted to exact vengeance on whoever on this particular day, on perhaps on society or whatever he wanted to do, or people that he felt, I guess, were given more in some way that weren't as deserving, or because he felt he was at least as equally deserving, he felt like he wanted to kind of get these people because they had more maybe than him, and didn't or slighted him or what have you, whatever the reasons would be in his warped way of thinking on that day. He wanted to exact vengeance on whoever, and that's I think might have had something to do with that progressed moon making a conjunction to his natal Pluto in his horoscope. And I believe he also had a number of Aries influences, or I know Uranus, I believe, was transiting his, Uranus with Aries was transiting his solar 10th house, so it's not something that's shocking that he got some kind of notoriety and recognition for something that was connected with some kind of unpredictable, volatile behavior. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the natal chart of Elliot Rodger, Part 2. And stay tuned next time where I'll be continuing with my North Node aspect series. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.